Hi, if I get into this video, I recommend using the subtitles to help you guys understand me. Final Fantasy 16 launched on June 22, 2023 as a PS5 exclusive. It arrived with high expectations and ended up with an 87 on Metacritic, earning praise for its cinematic storytelling and presentation. However, it also received mixed feedback, especially around the simplified RPG mechanics and divisive combat system. The game clearly aims to be an entry point for newcomers, and in doing so, it simplifies or completely changes core mechanics that longtime fans were familiar with. So, did the developers succeed in creating a new direction for the series, or did they lose sight of what made Final Fantasy special in the first place? Well, that's what I'm here to find out with this review. I'll be listing off the good, the bad, and my overall opinion. Let's start with the combat. To be upfront, it doesn't have the depth or complexity of previous Final Fantasy entries, and it leans heavily into action-based system. But what it lacks in variety, it makes up for in style. The combat looks incredible, every strike feels impactful thanks to the amazing animation and sound design, which really sells each hit. Enemy variety helps to keep the combat engaging. The game features over 25 unique enemy types and more than 30 boss encounters, each with their own mechanics and presentation. Thus variety does a lot to keep the action from feeling repetitive. Each boss is introduced with cinematic flair. The sheer scale of some of these encounters make them memorable, even if its mechanics themselves aren't the most complex. The bosses are especially important because they help pace the game's story beats, giving players something big to look forward to during each major chapter. Character progression also plays a big role. As you level up, you earn ability points, which can be used to unlock new combos, special abilities, and enhance your powers. It's a satisfying loop of growing stronger as you progress through the story. The skill tree isn't as deep as other RPGs, but it gives players meaningful choices as you can tailor your combat style slightly depending on what you invested in. And respecs are easy if you want to try something new. You will also find new swords, armors, and accessories throughout the game. Some are crafted, some are purchased from vendors, and others are hidden in the world, or rewarded through the quest. While the RPG elements are light than past entries, they are still present enough to support the gameplay and give players a sense of progression. It's not deep enough to satisfy hardcore RPG fans, but it does give just enough customization for those who enjoy tweaking stats and gear setups. If there's one drawback, it's how tanky some enemies are. They often soak up too much damage, making certain fights feel sluggish. Even with the upgraded gear and abilities, you'll often find yourself chipping away at health bars longer than you would like. It's not game breaking, but it does slow the pace at times. Despite how good the game looks, its performance is far from perfect. Even with a high-end hardware like a RTX 4080, it struggles to maintain at 60 frames per second. Frame drops are common in towns, combat sequences, and exploration. What's worse is that the cutscenes are locked to 30 frames, and switching between 60 frames gameplay and 30 frames cutscenes can be jarring. Sometimes the frame drops even further during cutscenes, falling into mid-20s or outright freezing for a few seconds. It breaks immersion and makes what should be cinematic moments feel clunky. For a game that puts such a heavy emphasis on its storytelling and visuals, this lack of polish and performance stands out. The world design leaves a lot to be desired. While Final Fantasy 16 is technically an open zone game, most areas are extremely linear. You're often just moving from point A to point B. With little room to explore, the larger zones have some breathing room, but they feel empty and there's not much to interact with. Side quests are sparse and rarely feel meaningful, and the cities and towns mostly exist as visual backdrops instead of places that feel alive. The side quests themselves range from decent to forgettable. Some offer nice character moments or small bits of world building, but most feel like filler. Go here, kill that, collect this, and how they are structured. It's a shame because the world feels like it's full of potential, but that potential isn't fully realized. One of the strongest aspects of Final Fantasy 16 is the story. Many JRPGs claim to be deep and mature, but often these claims are surface level at best. They touch on serious topics without exploring them properly, or treat emotional moments with an overdramatic tone. Final Fantasy 16 avoids these pitfalls. Its story is actually well written, and the characters feel like real people. Each one, from the leads to the side characters and even the villains, has clear motive and arcs. You can understand why they do what they do, and that makes their struggles even more compelling. The voice acting brings all of this to life. In particular, the character of Sid stands out. He's not only well written, but also performed with real emotion and nuance, making him one of the game's highlights. Clive, the protagonist, also has a strong arc. His development throughout the game is gradual but satisfying, and the emotional moments are delivered with impact. There are moments where the pacing slows down, which might throw off some players, but these quiet stretches are clearly meant to give you time to breathe and absorb the story. But they aren't always necessary. Still, the game now stays slow for too long, and it picks up again at the right moments. The narrative deals with themes like revenge, identity, loyalty, and sacrifice in a way that feels genuine rather than forced. These are themes that have been tackled in the series before, but they are handled here with a maturity that makes them feel fresh again. It's clear that the developers want to tell a grounded, character-driven story. In many ways, Final Fantasy XVI succeeds in modernizing the franchise. The developers clearly wanted to bring in new players by focusing on cinematic storytelling, polished visuals, and action-packed combat. For the most part, they have succeeded. The story is emotional and well-paced. The characters feel like people you can root for or understand. The combat may not seem incredibly deep, but it's engaging, stylish, and supported by an average upgrade system. It's not the classic turn-based system long-term fans remembered, but still offers something engaging. If the developers had added on an optional turn-based mode or layered in more RPG mechanics, I might have bridged the gap between new and old fans even better. That said, the game does have its issues. Its performance is disappointing on even high-end hardware, and the world design feels underdeveloped. These problems hold it back from reaching its full potential. Whether it becomes a new standard or a one-off experiment, Final Fantasy XVI is worth experiencing for yourself. Thank you for watching this video. Leaving a like, comment, and subscribe would mean a lot. I'll see you guys next week with another review.